Friends, it seems like just yesterday we were talking about avocado shortages. Remember the panic when guacamole prices soared? Well, buckle up because things have escalated far beyond our favorite green fruit. Now, it's a full-blown trade war. The stakes are higher and the impact is more widespread than anyone could have anticipated. Just this week, President Trump slapped a 10% tariff on pretty much everything coming into America. Everything. From electronics to clothing, and even those tiny, seemingly insignificant items we take for granted, like those little umbrellas for your cocktails, gone. And it's not just the fun stuff, everyday essentials are affected too. The official line, it's a medicine to fix trade imbalances. The administration claims this will level the playing field for American businesses. The kind of medicine that makes you go broke before it cures you, but hey, who am I to judge? Consumers are already feeling the pinch, and it's only the beginning. Trump says it'll bring back jobs and investment. The idea is to encourage companies to produce goods domestically, creating more employment opportunities, because nothing says booming economy like making everything more expensive. Higher prices mean consumers will have to make tough choices about their spending. Now, the administration swears this won't tank the economy. They argue that the long-term benefits will outweigh the short-term pain. They're calling it a short-term fix, just a matter of days and weeks. But how short is short-term, really? And at what cost? But you know what they say about the best-laid plans, right? They often go awry, especially when those plans involve complex economic policies, especially when those plans involve tariffs. The ripple effects are already being felt across various sectors, and it's anyone's guess how this will all play out in the end. So how did the stock market react to this economic bombshell? Well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. The initial shockwave sent traders into a frenzy, scrambling to make sense of the sudden downturn. The atmosphere on the trading floor was electric, but not in a good way. It was more like the kind of electricity you feel right before a thunderstorm hits. Not well, my friends, not well at all. The tension was palpable and you could almost hear the collective gasp as numbers started to plummet. Traders were glued to their screens, eyes wide with disbelief, as they watched their portfolios take a nosedive. We're talking the biggest nosedive since that time I tried to recreate Tom Cruise's stunt from Mission Impossible. The market was in free fall, and there was no safety net in sight. It was a scene straight out of a financial horror movie. The S&P 500? Down 4%. That's a significant drop, considering the index tracks the performance of 500 of the largest companies listed on stock exchanges in the United States. It's a broad measure of the market's overall health, and seeing it take such a hit was alarming. NASDAQ? Down 4.3%. The tech-heavy index, which includes giants like Apple, Amazon, and Google, was not spared. The tech sector, often seen as a growth engine, was sputtering. Dow Jones? Down 3.7%. This index, which tracks 30 large, publicly owned companies based in the United States, also felt the sting. It was a clear sign that no sector was immune to the downturn. It's like watching a game of financial limbo, and everyone's tripping over the bar. The market was in a state of chaos, and it seemed like there was no end in sight. Investors were left wondering how low it could go. Even the NASDAQ's in a bear market now, down 17% from its high point. A bear market is defined as a decline of 20% or more from recent highs, and the NASDAQ was dangerously close to that threshold. And it's not just America feeling the heat. The ripple effects of this economic shock were felt around the globe. International markets were also taking a beating as investors worldwide reacted to the news. Japan's Nikkei 225 took a 7.8% tumble. The Japanese market, which is a key indicator of the economic health of Asia, was hit hard. Hong Kong's Hang Seng, down over 12%. This index, which tracks the performance of some of the largest companies in Hong Kong, saw one of its worst days in recent memory. Even Saudi Arabia's market took a 7% hit, its worst day since the pandemic. The oil-rich nation, which relies heavily on its energy sector, was not immune to the global downturn. Remember the pandemic? Simpler times. Back then, the market was volatile, but at least we knew what we were dealing with. Now, it feels like we're navigating uncharted waters, and the uncertainty is palpable. You know what they say, if you poke the bear, it might just impose retaliatory tariffs. Okay, maybe that's not the saying, but it's definitely what's happening. The world is not taking this lying down. China, never one to back down from a trade spat, fired back with a 34% tariff on all US imports. That's right, everything. Soybeans, taxed. Cars, taxed. Those little plastic things that hold your bread bag closed, You guessed it, tax. Canada, our friendly neighbor to the north, is hitting back with new duties on US vehicles. The EU is gearing up to counter with tariffs on $28 billion worth of American goods. It's like a global game of economic dodgeball, and nobody's having fun. So, who's feeling the pain from this trade war? Businesses, of course. Imagine trying to run a shop when the cost of everything you need just skyrocketed. That's the reality for countless American companies right now. Imported materials, more expensive, components, pricier. It's like trying to order a pizza and getting charged extra for the cheese, the sauce, and even the cardboard box. And guess who ends up paying for it all? That's right, the consumer. Profit margins are shrinking faster than my chances of getting invited to a Trump rally. Investment is drying up like a puddle in the Sahara. And don't even get me started on supply chains. Companies are scrambling to find new sources for their goods, like a game of economic musical chairs. Section 5, Corporate Casualties, a tale of three companies. Let's put some faces to these economic woes, shall we? Take Constellation Brands, the folks who bring you Corona beer. They're looking at a 25 to 40 cent hit to their earnings, all thanks to the aluminum tariff. So much for that beach vacation in a bottle vibe. Then there's the luxury goods industry. LVMH, Ferragamo, you name it, they're all raising prices. Because when you're already dropping thousands on a handbag, what's another $100, right? And let's not forget Howmet Aerospace, a company that makes parts for airplanes. They've declared force majeure, which is a fancy way of saying they might have to halt shipments. So if you were planning on flying anywhere soon, you might want to pack a parachute. Section 6, the price we pay. So we've talked about businesses, but what about the average Joe? Well, get ready to empty your wallets, folks, because everything's about to get more expensive. And I mean everything. Remember those shoes you've been eyeing? Yeah, those just went up in price. That new phone you've been saving for? Yep, pricier too. Even that avocado toast you love so much? Let's just say it's about to become a luxury item. The Federal Reserve estimates that these tariffs are costing the average American household $831 per year. That's like an extra month's worth of bills. And for lower-income families, it's even worse. This trade war is hitting them where it hurts the most, their wallets. Section 7, the people's response. So, how are people reacting to all this economic turmoil? Well, let's just say they're not exactly throwing ticker tape parades. Over the weekend, protests erupted in cities across the country. People are angry, and they're not afraid to show it. Even some big names are speaking out. Elon Musk, the guy who wants to send us all to Mars, is advocating for zero tariffs between the US and Europe. He gets it. Trade wars are bad for business, bad for consumers, and bad for the planet. It's not just about the money, though. These tariffs are straining relationships with our closest allies. It's like watching a family Thanksgiving dinner devolve into a shouting match over the last slice of pumpkin pie. Section 8. A house divided. The political fallout from this trade war is just as messy as the economic one. Republicans are split, with some supporting Trump's hardline stance and others warning of the consequences. Democrats are united in their opposition, but they're also divided on how to fight back. It's like watching a game of political tug-of-war, and the rope is about to snap. The only winners in this scenario are the lobbyists and special interests who are profiting from the chaos. The worst part is, nobody knows how this is going to end. Will Trump back down? Will other countries retaliate even further? Will the global economy plunge into a recession? Stay tuned, folks, because this roller coaster ride is just getting started. Section 9. The long road ahead. So, what does the future hold for the US economy in the age of tariffs? It's a question that has been on the minds of many, from policymakers to everyday citizens. The landscape of global trade is shifting, and with it, the economic stability of nations around the world. Well, if you ask 10 economists, you'll get 11 different answers. The debate is as heated as ever, with experts weighing in from all sides. Some argue that protectionist policies could shield domestic industries, while others warn of the long-term repercussions. Some say this could actually lead to a US manufacturing boom. They believe that by imposing tariffs, the government can encourage companies to produce goods domestically, creating jobs and boosting the economy. This perspective is rooted in the hope that a resurgence in manufacturing could revitalize communities that have been left behind in the global economy. Others say it's a recipe for disaster. Critics argue that tariffs could lead to higher prices for consumers and retaliatory measures from other countries. This could result in a trade war that disrupts supply chains and harms businesses both large and small. The fear is that the short-term gains might be overshadowed by long-term economic pain. One thing's for sure, the global economy is in uncharted territory. The interconnectedness of today's world means that actions taken by one country can have ripple effects across the globe. As nations navigate these uncertain waters, the stakes have never been higher. We're sailing into a perfect storm of trade wars, rising interest rates, and geopolitical uncertainty. The combination of these factors creates a volatile environment where predicting the future becomes increasingly difficult. It's a time of great risk, but also of potential opportunity for those who can adapt. Buckle up, buttercups, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. The road ahead is fraught with challenges, but also with the possibility of new beginnings. As we move forward, resilience and adaptability will be key to navigating the twists and turns. In the meantime, all we can do is hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and maybe stock up on those little cocktail umbrellas while they're still affordable. It's a light-hearted reminder that amidst the serious discussions, it's important to find moments of levity and to take care of ourselves and our communities. Because if there's one thing we've learned from history, it's that trade wars are never easy, and they're never over quickly. The lessons of the past remind us that while the road ahead may be long and uncertain, perseverance and strategic thinking can guide us through even the most turbulent times.